Not the best effort I've ever seen. Denver Nuggets lose at Portland 126-124 at the buzzer. Anfernee Simons won it, but the Nuggets lost it earlier than that. We'll talk about it all on the solo Ryan episode of Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Network, your team every day. Thank you for listening each and every day. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button on this episode. We are closing in on 9,000 subscribers. We've been doing a great job rounding up the content, giving you as much content as possible, doing a lot of great things. We've got a new newsletter, as you can see in that bottom right corner. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to go head over to lockedondaily.com to check out all of the great information from each episode. From each of those newsletters are so good. I put in so much time into that thing. Matt puts in time. We do the 10-piece after Nuggets games like this, where it's just not tremendous. So we've got plenty to talk about today. I'm your host, Ryan Blackburn. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Solo Ryan episode tonight. Matt had some other things that he had to take care of, so I'm trying to put in the work. Really quickly, this podcast is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. We've got plenty to discuss about this game tonight. I'm going to do my best. If I have some issues in terms of the logistics for the Locked On reads, apologies. This is my first solo episode. But there's plenty to talk about. There's plenty to go over, and the Nuggets have made it pretty easy to come up with some content, haven't they? The Denver Nuggets, they lose 126-124. Anfernee Simons hits a shot at the buzzer, one of the easiest layups that you'll see at the buzzer when teams are trying to prevent a shot. When Denver, they didn't really have anything to lose in that situation, but they screwed up the coverage. It looked to me like Russell Westbrook thought that he was going to get a little bit of help on the baseline. He didn't get help on the baseline. Jamal Murray was helping in the middle, and then Jokic didn't rotate over behind him. There's a lot of elements to this. There's a lot of reasons why the Nuggets ultimately lost this game. But I'm going to start with the first three quarters. I'm not going to actually, you know what, we'll do that in the second segment. First segment, it's going to be about the fourth quarter comeback and how Denver ultimately lost it. They were down 17. They were down 17 in this game at the beginning of that fourth quarter. Michael Malone makes a sub. He puts in Hunter Tyson in place of Julian Strawther. Julian had a really tough game in this one. And I thought that Hunter, he didn't really do much, but it was just an ode to the fact that Denver needed some more hustle. They needed somebody to really step up. Russell Westbrook stepped up in this game. Jamal Murray, I thought, stepped up in this game as well. DeAndre Jordan even stepped up in this game. I thought that those three guys especially really put in the work in that fourth quarter, got Denver back into it. Russell Westbrook finishes the game with 19 points and 7 assists off the bench, 3 stocks, shot very efficiently, had 33 minutes. He played basically the last 18 or so minutes in a row, and he played very hard. I'm not going to blame him on the final shot. Like, I think he got Denver back into this thing. Could he have done a better job defensively on it? Absolutely. But he was one of the reasons why they were in the game in the first place. It was on the Nuggets to pick him up at that point, and there were just too many times where they didn't. Jamal Murray, I thought he brought it overall, but only 3 rebounds in this one, 24 points, 10 assists, did some good things and looked a lot like the Jamal Murray that we saw in the fourth quarter against the Sacramento Kings. That was nice to see. And yet Denver put themselves into this position in the first place where they had to work so hard just to get back into the game that they made some mistakes down the stretch. They made some mistakes in general. And when you give up offensive rebounds, when you give up wide open jumpers in the middle of the floor, when you give up fouls 94 feet from the basket to put other guys on the free throw line, then you have to look inward. Like this was more about the Nuggets and their lack of effort as opposed to anything else. And I look at Nikola Jokic with that. I look at Aaron Gordon with that. I look at Denver starting center and their starting power forward. Those guys combined for 12 rebounds tonight. That doesn't sound that crazy. until you realize that Jokic averages 13 by himself. Aaron Gordon did not play a good game in this one. I think that there are some things to be talked about there. He had a great first quarter against the Sacramento Kings. He had a big three against the Sacramento Kings. Did not have a game to really write home about this one. Thought Jeremy Grant really took him to work in the first half as well. But Jokic is the story. For as great of a player as you have to be to score 34 points on 13 of 18 from the field, 4 of 6 from 3, 4 of 4 from the line, 8 assists, only 3 turnovers. He only had 6 rebounds, and I thought his defense tonight, folks, was horrible. I really did. There were just a lot of things that you look at from Jokic from an effort standpoint tonight. He was playing a pretty soft drop coverage in the clutch. He was giving up the lane. He was giving up offensive rebounds. I'm not going to put all of the offensive rebounding issues on him because it's not. Like, the team should be rebounding as a team. And any time, if you're the Nuggets, any singular time, like, you cannot just put it on the center in order to rebound. Like, he should be the guy that's mostly boxing out, and everybody else should be getting involved. So Jokic has always been doing this. Like, he's always had such a heavy burden that sometimes the effort will slip. Tonight, the effort slipped a little bit too much. And I think that there are just a lot of questions right now about how hard guys are playing. Are they willing to do it? There were a lot of times in transition defense where Jokic wouldn't cross half court, where a lot of Nuggets, not just Jokic, wouldn't cross half court. There were a lot of transition offense possessions where Jokic and others wouldn't cross half court. The effort in this one was bad, which is really questionable given the fact that the Nuggets had literally just had 2 days off and have barely played over the course of these past few days. Why is the effort so low? Well, you're playing the Portland Trailblazers. You expect to get it done. You expect to win. And yet the procrastination, which I'll talk about later, that is clearly a thing. That is clearly a problem that the Nuggets are facing. So there's a lot to go over, and there's a lot to look inward about for something like this. I put out a little bit too much blame on Michael Porter on Twitter tonight, on X, whatever you want to call it. I don't think that Michael Porter was to blame for this one. Overall, 16 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal. He was actually a +7 in the game. I don't necessarily think that's very indicative of how he played. I don't think he played as hard as you would want him to. And when he tried to rebound, there were often times where he stole it from teammates and then caused the ball to get kicked up and then rebounded by the Blazers anyway. So the execution is just not there. The timing is just not there. The knowing exactly when and how hard you have to go just isn't there. And the Nuggets as a team, I think, are very out of whack with that. I don't know if it's a Malone issue. I don't know if it's a Ryan Saunders defensive issue. I don't know if there is there's just a variety of issues that you have to really point out, and you have to be willing to acknowledge, because if you're not, then I don't know what you're watching at this point. This team is 14-11. They have now lost to the Portland Trailblazers, to the New Orleans Pelicans, who are 5-23, and to the Washington Wizards, who didn't win for the entire month of November. I think that there are plenty of issues, and like, I know a lot of folks are here saying Ryan won't say anything bad about Malone. He's a Malone shill. I mean, when you stop playing hard for your coach, obviously the message is not being delivered. Personally, I think it's a good message. I think the message is mostly, hey, we have to play hard to win, and the guys aren't playing hard. So it's hard for me to sit here and say and blame the coach when I can see the active effort issues from the team and from the players. And like, if Malone is saying, hey, get on the glass, stop, don't stop playing defense until the defensive rebound occurs, it's hard for me to really blame him that much if the team just isn't listening. And yet it is his job to get through to them. So I understand that perspective. I really do. When we come back, We are going to talk about procrastination. And what I mean by that, the first 3 quarters of this game were classic procrastination from the Denver Nuggets. We will talk about that on the other side here on Locked On Nuggets. All right, first time doing this, folks. Let's see if I can make it happen. Built Rewards. Today's episode is sponsored by Built Rewards. If you're a renter, make sure to listen up. This is a total game changer. Thanks to Built, you can now earn points on your rent. Just like you do with groceries or travel, paying rent now comes with serious perks, and it's completely free to join. Earn valuable Built points on your rent and everyday spending at no extra cost. Redeem points towards flights, hotel stays, and even future rent payments with over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels in their program. The possibilities are endless. I personally love using points on travel for credit cards and things like that. Built just makes it so easy to turn your rent money, which everybody pays, into rewards. And if you're already paying rent, why not make it work for you? Start earning points on rent and you're already paying by joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. That's joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. Make sure you use our link so that they know that we sent you. Don't wait and start earning rewards today with Built at joinbuilt.com. We are also brought to you today by Game Time, I believe. Let me just check and make sure that that is correct. Yes. Last year for my mom's anniversary with my dad, their 30-year anniversary as a couple, my brother and I, we sent our parents to see A Christmas Carol. It was awesome. We had they had a great time. It was very easy. And Game Time does things like that. It's not just games. It is any live event that you can really talk about. Game Time is focused on togetherness this holiday season. It means that you bring people together at live events, and the experience is just so much better. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for live events even easier. Sorry, trying to figure this out. Make sure to download the app. Use Game Time today. Game Time does a great job. They are a very easy app to use. What time is it? It is game time. We'll be right back here on Locked On Nuggets. Good Lord. Sorry, Game Time. We're back here, Locked On Nuggets. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Again, make sure to go check out the newsletter. Make sure to go download and support all of our sponsors because you support us in the process. And if you haven't subscribed yet to the podcast on YouTube, we are on the road to 10,000 by the end of the year. So make sure to subscribe. Okay. Procrastination. Procrastination is tough. And I've seen this from this Nuggets team a ton. And you see it honestly from champions. You see it from teams that have won a championship that know that they are at issue, that know that it's November, that it's December, that it's January, or whatever the month is that is not April, May, or June. You see it a lot with teams like that. And I'm not surprised that Denver has really struggled in moments like this where you just don't necessarily, it's not about care. It's about being willing to go 110% for 82 the entire season. There are certain teams that can do that, young teams especially. The Orlando Magics, the OKC Thunders. The Boston Celtics are slightly younger than the Denver Nuggets. They're not that much younger, so Denver should be able to be closer to a team like Boston than they actually are from an effort and a willingness standpoint. But it's also the fact that teams like Boston, where you've got guys like Derek White, Drew Holiday, Al Horford, really good veterans that can establish how meaningful it is to play hard consistently every single night. Russell Westbrook does that for Denver. But right now, a guy like Aaron Gordon, he's not playing as hard as you need him to. There's a lot of raising the hand in the air on the or tapping my bad. There's a lot of that. And that isn't going to get you through. It's not going to get you through an 82 game season. especially for a team like the Nuggets where they've lost talent. They're not the same level of talent as they've been as a championship team. And like when you don't have Bruce Brown anymore, or Jeff Green anymore, or KCP anymore, you don't have the margin. And the Nuggets, we've seen this, are a team that is, I think, a lesser team offensively that's kind of masked it by how well Jokic has played so far this year, but definitely worse defensively. Uh, they were 13th on cleaning the glass before this game. There's no way that they are the 13th best team in the NBA defensively. There's just no way. Like I've watched them oscillate between a team that tries hard for a quarter and a team where the effort waxes and wanes for the other three. And so you get that in a game like tonight where the effort just wasn't good for pretty much the entire first three quarters. The Trailblazers score 30 points, then they score 36 points, then they score 38 points in the third quarter. It's like the Nuggets didn't learn their lesson at all in the first half. They were like, you know what? We tied them by the end of it. We figured it out by the end, and we were just fine giving the level of effort that they did. And then Denver lost the third quarter 38-21, and you're down 17. And usually that's the game. Usually that's an opportunity where a team goes on the road and they're willing to give up. But the Nuggets, they have done this so often that they do know how to kind of tighten up the screws a little bit when they want to. It's just about the willingness to do it earlier than they have to. And it's why I talk about crossing half courts and being willing to hustle in transition and doing the extra stuff. There aren't enough players on the roster that are willing to do the extra stuff right now. And that is an issue. That is a problem. The overall level of defense from the starting lineup is pretty weak. Christian Braun, I give him a pass tonight because he just came back from a low back strain. Obviously, he was not going to be perfect from a defensive and energy and effort standpoint. And honestly, with Michael Porter being in the trade rumor mill, I don't blame him either. But this is where guys like Jamal Murray need to step up. And he had 3 steals tonight. I honestly thought that his defense among the guys in the starting lineup was probably the best. And honestly, Michael Porter wasn't even that bad on the ball defensively. He had some good moments. But it's about finishing the play. And Aaron Gordon, I think, deserves some criticism for that. And Jokic especially deserves criticism for that too. And then you want it from your bench. You want to give yourself as many opportunities with the bench as possible. And to their credit, Russell Westbrook, he came out tonight and he did a great job. DeAndre Jordan did a great job. Peyton Watson was pretty weak tonight. I did not like what I saw from Peyton Watson. He had 2 total rebounds, 0 steals, 0 blocks, and like he did score, but just the actual level of impact on the game, you're not given a whole heck of a lot. And then Julian Strawther's the other one. Like, I don't expect great defensive effort from Strawther. All right, I expect effort. I don't expect great execution. Tonight we didn't really get either. And it's obviously an issue for Denver. So this is where a guy like Zeke Naji should be thriving. He should be a guy that gives you great effort in these situations, but he's stuck to the bench. Denver doesn't have a lot of answers. And the fact that they have to turn to DeAndre Jordan, who was the team leader in rebounds tonight at 7 in 11 minutes. That's insane. He had more rebounds tonight than Jokic did in less than 3 times the minutes. And that should be, I think, emblematic of what the issues really were. So I know that the Nuggets know that they are not. Oh, actually, there's another one here from Alvin. He says, blame Jokic for not even attempting to block the shot. I agree. I mean, there is part of me that thinks that Jokic was probably adhering to the defensive coverage. And I saw that Giannis fans and Milwaukee fans were definitely like they were having fun with that one because they just saw Giannis make some heroic plays on the way to winning the NBA Cup. And they like to say that is the separator between him and Jokic as a great player. To some degree, it's true because Giannis is able to go outside of the defensive coverage in order to do that. And I just don't understand why Jokic didn't make more of an effort for that play. It may not have been his responsibility, but it doesn't matter. Sometimes you just got to make a basketball play. And he didn't. Russ didn't. I give Russ mostly a pass, but he also didn't make it very difficult for Simons on the last possession. So effort issues abound. Execution issues abound. There's a lot of questions across the board for this group. And all of the goodwill that they had built up from a 3-game winning streak, it's out the door. When we come back, we're going to chat about how much this team actually wants it, and do they want it together? Are they going to stay together through this entire process, or is this going to be an issue? We'll be right back here on Locked On Nuggets. All right, here we go. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. Basically, like, I had a parlay on the Nuggets tonight. Tough parlay. Had Murray with 6+ assists. Had Shaedon Sharpe with 20+ points. I kind of figured that he would go off tonight. And I had Jokic with a triple-double. I was also not happy with Jokic's rebounding effort, but not from a crazy perspective. Also, I bet on the NFL. That did not go well for me either. So hopefully you have better luck on your side and you make better decisions. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. We'll be right back here on Locked On Nuggets. That one was better. I've listened to that ad a whole heck of a lot, so I understand it. Back here on Locked On Nuggets, final segment. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Let's talk about, does this team want it or not? This is the final thing that I think is very important for this team. Denver, when you go through trade rumors like this, when you go through situations like this, it's not an accident that it came out, right? Like, if this team was perfectly happy with where they were, then we wouldn't be hearing the rumors. We wouldn't be hearing the discussion. People are talking. People are saying, hey, things might change. And so that's why rumors like this get out. And it's not necessarily the cause and effect of why the team played badly. But I do understand that if there are gaps, and it's creating enough gaps that is creating potential trade rumors, that you can understand whether, like, there are questions about how much this team wants it together. Hearing Cam Johnson earlier today on Young Man and the Three talk about a rebuilding team, rebuilding effort. Interestingly enough, Cam Johnson, one of the guys mentioned in the trade rumors for Denver, he talked about how important it was for teams to know exactly where everybody stood, where know exactly what the expectations were, what everybody was going to give, and then you're able to then match that same energy. You're able to do that every single night. Everybody then gets into lockstep. You get into that rhythm, you find that rhythm, and then you win games. And I just think that applies to Denver so well here, because the Nuggets are in this situation right now where they are battling against what they were doing in lockstep before versus what they're trying to figure out right now. And at this point, Denver knows what they're getting from Jokic. Do they know what they're getting from Murray every night? I don't know. Do they know what they're getting from Aaron Gordon every night? Yes, I would say that he's more consistent than most, but lately he hasn't been awesome. Do they know what they're getting from Michael Porter every night? Yeah, I would say so. Do they know what they're getting from Christian Brown every night? Yeah, but like, the defense is definitely struggling. Russell Westbrook, yes, you know what you're getting from him every single night. You're going to get energy, you're going to get playmaking, you're going to get defense. The backup center position, hell no. You have no idea what you're thinking about there. Julian Strawther, Peyton Watson, still trying to figure it out. Still trying to be those consistent pieces the Nuggets can count on every single time. And so when you're developing, when you are learning to trust new people, when you're bringing in new pieces, when you're trying to change up the elements of your championship team that you had, it leaves gaps. It leaves gaps in the expectations and the understanding that Michael Malone is trying to fight through. He's having to play his starters a whole heck of a lot again because he doesn't know every single night. And I just don't think the Nuggets have responded to it well. They're 14-11, and I tend to think that, look, they're still in line to be pretty good. You just need a little bit of a wake-up call, and maybe this is, again, the wake-up call that they need. But this is also just kind of a classic game where all of your foils that come out at the same time, and despite the fact that you do lock in at the right time in the fourth quarter, it's not enough because the problem is larger than that now. And it has been larger than that for a long time. So I'm at the point where I'm wondering whether this team wants it together. How much do they want it for each other? They've been playing together, or at least the core has been playing together for a long time. And I am very curious as to what the Nuggets do in the wake of all these trade rumors, in the wake of, hey, they're like, the players they're not making it easy on the front office right now. When you lose and you put the front office into this situation where they have to make a call, like I don't like envy Calvin Booth right now, because he's got to make a call on whether this group, this team that won a championship together 2 years ago, less than 2 years ago, he has to make a call on whether they can do it again. And I don't know the answer to that. I don't. I wish I could tell people. Actually, I do kind of know. I'm kind of cowardly for not saying it. I've said it before. I don't think that this team is a championship group. They're just not a championship group again. That's my opinion. And that's really tough. That is really, really tough. It's something that Nuggets fans, you don't have to be as pessimistic as I do. You don't have to. It's perfectly reasonable to believe that this team can win a championship before because they've already done it. I get that. But I also am watching with my eyes. I'm seeing what this team is looking like. I'm seeing the potential issues that will pop up in not just the regular season, but the playoffs too. And I'm seeing a team that kind of has to fight through a tough Western Conference where every night you could lose to somebody. Portland was potentially going to be the 15 seed this year, and they just beat Denver. And they didn't have to work that hard to do it. Was that a particularly great game from Portland? No. Did they work hard? Sure. Did they get Denver to screw up a couple of times? Sure. But this was well within the right of Portland to win this game. It wasn't like they threw up a whole bunch of junk and made 50% of their threes, and they were fine. They were okay. The Nuggets are now struggling with teams like the Blazers, the Wizards, and the Pelicans. It's a talent issue, but it's also a mentality issue. And I just don't believe that this team can win a championship if they are consistently doing that. So, does this team want to prove me wrong? They don't care what I think. Do they want to prove it to themselves? Do they want to prove it to each other? I don't know. I don't have a great answer for you. Hopefully, Matt Moore and Swipa have an answer for you on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Nuggets, because that is going to do it for this episode of Locked On Nuggets here. Make sure to check out our daily newsletter, again, on lockedondaily.com. Really appreciate you stopping by. Late night episode, of course, and I'm glad everybody's hanging out with me. Thank you for making this solo episode really good. I know the comments went off on their own rails. I'm not even going to worry about that. Hope everybody has a good day. Make sure, again, tune into Matt and Swipa on their particular stuff. Thank you so much, everybody. I will talk to you guys very soon.